Started with a birthday gift. Mine, not hers. I remember that because she didn't even bother wrapping it. She handed me a small black box at dinner, still in the Amazon packaging, while she scrolled through her phone with the other hand. No eye contact, no smile. Just, here. Like she was tossing a piece of trash across the table. Inside was a cheap stainless steel watch, not even my style. I wore leather bands, always had. She knew that. And I knew then. Something had shifted. But I had no idea how deep the rot went. We'd been together for 6 years. Long enough to build habits, routines, shared spaces that blurred the edges of identity. But in the last few months, things had grown sterile. Our conversations were mechanical, logistical. Who's picking up the dry cleaning? What time is the vet appointment? She started locking her phone. Not the kind of lock that's meant for privacy, but the kind that's meant to keep you out. And there was this new cologne she'd started wearing. Or at least I thought it was hers. Turns out I'd been smelling someone else entirely. There was a night. I'll never forget it. When I walked past the bathroom while she was getting ready to go out with her sister, I saw her spray a perfume I'd never seen before. Not a bottle from our bathroom shelf. Something small, travel-sized, like she didn't want it to be found. She noticed me watching. There was this flicker of something in her face. Not fear, but irritation. Like I was a fly she hadn't swatted yet. She didn't smile. Just stared back at me through the mirror and said, "You always look so suspicious these days." Then she laughed. Not playfully. Not kindly. Like she knew a joke I hadn't been let in on. But here's the real beginning. A week later, I got a call from my buddy Travis. We'd grown up together. He was more of a brother than a friend. Travis wasn't the kind of guy to gossip. If anything, he hated drama. So when he said, "Kyle, man, you need to hear something," I already felt my stomach drop. He didn't waste time. He told me he'd seen her. Not just seen her, recognized her. At a hotel bar across town. She wasn't alone. And it wasn't her sister. Travis had watched her lean into a man's neck, whispering something, fingers brushing his sleeve in a way that made it clear this wasn't just a casual conversation. They left together. Not in a hurry, not sneaking around, like they didn't even care if anyone noticed. I wanted to believe Travis was wrong. That maybe it was someone who just looked like her. That maybe it wasn't what it seemed. But deep down something clicked. Like a key turning in a lock you forgot existed. I told him nothing. Just thanked him. Hung up, and sat there on the edge of my bed staring at the floor for what must have been hours. My hands didn't shake. My throat didn't tighten. I felt nothing. Absolute zero. Like my body went offline. The next morning I didn't confront her. Not yet. I made her coffee like I always did, kissed her cheek, and watched her smile like she hadn't just detonated our life behind my back. That smile burned through my skull all day. It wasn't the lie. It was how effortless it had become for her. She didn't even have to try. That night I followed her. No confrontation, no yelling. I just waited. Waited until she said she was going out to grab a drink with Madison. Madison, who lived in Arizona now and hadn't been in the same zip code in over a year. I followed her car 3 neighborhoods over, parked 2 blocks away, and watched her walk into a house I didn't recognize. I waited. 30 minutes later, the porch light turned off. 2 hours in, I saw movement in an upstairs window. A silhouette too, actually. Her and someone else. I didn't need to see his face. I didn't need video proof. I saw the way her arms moved. I saw the way her head tilted back. I saw enough. I didn't knock. I didn't scream. I went home. And that night, I planned the confrontation down to the second. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to accuse. I was going to make her say it. Next part ready when you are. The next morning, she came back home at 8:14 a.m., hair messy in that too perfect way. Starbucks cup in hand. Lipstick smudged, but not from a long night of sleep. She hummed. That's what made me want to flip the entire kitchen table. She hummed like she was living in a rom-com and not returning from another man's bed. I sat at the dining table, already dressed for work, laptop open but untouched. She stopped in the doorway, gave me that same polished smirk she used on strangers. "Morning. You're up early." "I didn't sleep," I said, not looking at her. "Still having those late-night stress spirals, huh?" she asked, breezing past me like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't committed treason on our marriage just hours earlier. I wanted to punch a wall. But walls don't lie to you. Walls don't make you believe you're the reason everything's falling apart. Where were you? I asked without looking at her. I could hear her footsteps pause behind me, just for a split second. With Madison, she said. Smooth. No hesitation. Not even a flicker of panic in her voice. She had a rough night. You know how she gets when. Madison moved to Arizona last year. Dead silence. She didn't respond immediately. I turned to face her. She was standing still, cup halfway to her mouth. Lips parted like she was about to start a sentence she didn't know how to finish. Oh, you're being ridiculous, she finally muttered, turning away from me. You're tracking where all my friends live now? I stood, calmly, slowly. I followed you. That did it. She turned around like she'd been slapped. Excuse me? I followed you, I said louder this time. Last night. I saw where you went. I saw the house. I saw the lights go out. I saw the window upstairs. Don't play dumb. Not today. I expected denial. I expected crying. I expected theatrics. What I got was worse. She scoffed. Legitimately scoffed. Like I was the one who had lost his mind. Then, she threw her cup into the sink and said, You really need help. I didn't blink. Just say it. Say his name. Tell me who it is. She walked over to me, her eyes blazing. You want to know the truth? Fine. I cheated. There. Happy now? Is that what you needed so you can feel like the victim again? I didn't speak. I didn't move. She wasn't done. She stepped closer. You drove me to it. With your paranoia, your constant need for control. You haven't touched me in months, Kyle. What did you think was going to happen? You built this. You made this bed. You should have seen it coming. There was something so cold in her voice, it almost made me admire the sheer audacity. She was standing in our kitchen, in the house we bought together, accusing me of engineering my own betrayal like I had held a gun to her conscience and forced her to sleep with someone else. And then she walked out, just like that. No apology, no guilt, like she'd just won an argument over a missing grocery receipt. I sat back down, staring at the table again. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt exposed, like someone had peeled my skin off and left me raw to the air. The worst part? I knew she was going to flip the story. I knew the moment she left, she was already texting people, turning herself into the neglected wife, making me the villain, the cold husband who pushed her into someone else's arms. And I knew, because of the way she'd always been around others, charming, self-effacing, harmless, that they would believe her. I just didn't know how fast it would happen, or how much I'd lose. By the end of that same day, the first message came through. My cousin Lindsay. Short, sharp text. No hello. No punctuation. Heard you cheated. Unreal. I stared at it for a full minute, rereading it like maybe I'd hallucinated the words. I didn't respond. Couldn't. Because something about that message cut deeper than I expected. Lindsay was close to Amanda, sure. But she was still my blood. And if she had already chosen a side, it meant Amanda was moving fast. Rewriting the entire script like she'd been preparing for this performance her whole life. By nightfall, 3 more texts. One from Amanda's sister, who called me a disgrace. One from a mutual friend. Just a series of question marks followed by, why would you do this to her? And one from my own mother. That one stung. It read, you need to come clean, Kyle. Whatever it is, just admit it. We still love you. Still love me. Like my love was now something they had to make a conscious effort to keep alive. She'd told them, but not the truth. No, she'd gone nuclear. I could imagine it. Her fake tears, her shaking voice, her head in her hands as she told them I had emotionally abandoned her. Maybe even hinted that I had someone else. And of course, the ultimate twist of the knife, saying that I'd accused her out of guilt, not out of truth. Projection. I didn't respond to any of the messages. I didn't defend myself. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she was willing to take it. The answer came 3 days later. Amanda showed up to our house with her mother. Her mother, who hadn't spoken more than 10 words to me in 2 years. She stood behind Amanda like some sort of moral bodyguard while Amanda stepped inside. Arms crossed, expression flawless. Not angry, not broken, just superior. Like I was a teenager being lectured for stealing the car. We need to talk, she said. standing in the center of the living room like she still owned the place. "You're not welcome here," I said quietly. Her mother bristled. "Kyle, we don't need hostility." I said, "You're not welcome." Amanda raised a hand to silence her mother, then looked at me with that sickening blend of pity and contempt. "You need to stop spreading lies," she said. "You're embarrassing yourself." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. "I haven't said a word. You're the one spinning fairy tales. You've been telling people I cheated," she snapped, finally cracking the mask. "I followed you to his house." "You followed me?" she said, raising her voice like she was the victim of stalking. "Do you hear yourself?" Her mother gasped. "Kyle, that's disturbing behavior. I watched you go into his house. I watched you disappear for hours. You came back looking like you rolled out of someone else's bed. And now you're standing here trying to paint me as unstable? What's his name? Why don't you introduce him to your mother while she's here?" Amanda's eyes went flat. I saw the calculation in real time, her mind switching gears, finding the next angle. "I made a mistake," she said suddenly, quietly. Her voice dropped like she wanted to be seen as remorseful now. "But this marriage died long before that night. You checked out. You stopped caring. I tried, Kyle, for so long. But you weren't present. You weren't a partner anymore." "I wasn't a partner?" I said, stepping closer. "I cooked for you, cleaned up after you, paid for everything, worked overtime while you played housewife with whatever guy answered your DMs that week. But yeah, sure, I stopped caring." Amanda looked away, biting her lip like she was about to cry, but the tears never came. Her mother just shook her head. "This is toxic. You need help, both of you." And then they left. No resolution, no apology, nothing but silence in the wake of their exit. That night, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't just that she'd cheated. It was that she'd won the narrative. She was telling the story now, and I was the villain in her fairy tale. And people believed her because she told it with confidence, with practiced pain, with a charisma I never realized could be weaponized. 3 weeks went by. 3 weeks of radio silence between us, except for the bare minimum texts about bills, the dog, and when she could come get the rest of her stuff. I didn't reply to most of them. Couldn't. Every word she sent looked like a match ready to light another fire inside me. I started sleeping in the guest room, even though she hadn't been back in the house. It felt like even the walls in our bedroom knew what she'd done. But the storm hadn't passed. It was gathering. I could feel it in the way people looked at me. Friends who used to greet me with jokes now offered awkward nods or ghosted me altogether. My mother stopped picking up my calls. She texted me once to say, "We just want you to take responsibility. Amanda's hurting. Hurting." I started screenshotting every message. I didn't know what for, just instinct, documentation, protection. Something told me this wasn't just personal anymore. Amanda wasn't done. She was building something. Then came the email. It was from a HR rep at my job. Cold, professional, but I felt the heat behind every sentence. "We've received a complaint regarding conduct that may have occurred outside the workplace but could potentially reflect on your role here. We are required to conduct a preliminary review." I didn't even have to ask who filed it. I already knew. I walked into the office the next morning with a mind like a war drum. I wasn't fired, but I was put on temporary leave, pending further review. Just like that. No proof. No details. Just shadows and accusations and the memory of Amanda's smug voice saying, "You need to stop spreading lies." I wanted to call her. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I drove home, pulled into the driveway, and there she was, already waiting, parked in front of the house like she owned time. I got out of the car and said nothing. She leaned against her door and crossed her arms. "I told you there'd be consequences. You're really doing this?" I said. "You're actually trying to destroy my job now? You ruined my reputation," she said, voice cold and measured. "You humiliated me. People talk. My friends are asking questions. My family. I never told anyone anything." I snapped. "I never posted. I never said your name. I never even told them who you were with." "Oh, but Travis knows," she said. "And he's not exactly subtle, is he? People are talking because of him. Because of what you fed him. You weaponized this. I watched you cheat," I said louder. "I watched you walk into that house, stay the night, and lie about it to my face the next morning. And now you're going to punish me for not clapping while you burned it all down. She didn't blink, didn't flinch, just turned her head and said, "You're dangerous when you're desperate, and everyone sees it now." That was it. That was the moment I knew she wasn't angry, or hurt, or even regretful. She was strategic, calculated. She wasn't just trying to survive this fallout. She was trying to bury me in it. She left after that. No threats, no yelling, just silence that felt like concrete. I sat in my car for almost an hour after she was gone. Something snapped in me, not the kind that makes you act out, but the kind that makes you stop playing the role you've been assigned. I was done being the quiet one, the calm one, the reasonable one. She wanted a war? Then she was going to have to fight in the daylight, where people could finally see everything. It started with the group chat. The one we had with 6 other couples, friends we'd made over the years through barbecues, game nights, and vacations. People who knew us or thought they did. I'd stayed quiet in there, even after Amanda started seeding her version of events. I watched the conversations shift. Less jokes, less warmth, more silence when I spoke, until eventually nobody replied to me at all. I left the chat without a word. Then I started gathering. Not revenge. Not some ugly public smear campaign. Just truth. Truth that had receipts, timestamps, names, and faces. I went through my old text logs, pulled out dates, found every message Amanda had sent where her story cracked. Every lie she told that contradicted something else. I wasn't just documenting anymore. I was constructing something. A timeline. A map of betrayal. And then I called Travis. I told him I needed a favor. Not just as a friend, but as a witness. He didn't even hesitate. "Whatever you need," he said. We met at a quiet little coffee shop where nobody knew us. I showed him the messages, the fake alibis, the photos of her perfume bottle she only used before seeing him. Travis told me again exactly what he saw that night. What she wore, how she moved, how comfortable she looked. "It wasn't the first time," he said. "No one acts like that unless they know it's safe." Then he gave me the most important piece I didn't have. The name. I didn't even recognize it at first. Some guy named Brandon who worked in real estate, apparently. Divorced. 2 kids. Drove a Tesla. I looked him up later that night and found his face immediately. And that's when it hit me. She'd brought him to one of our barbecues. Nearly a year ago. Said he was a friend of her coworker. I remembered shaking his hand. I remembered him complimenting our backyard. I remembered Amanda laughing too loudly at one of his dumb jokes while I grilled chicken 10 feet away. Something primal surged in my gut. But I didn't act on it. Not yet. Because what came next had to be clean. Precise. I sent one message. To Amanda. Just a single sentence. "Let's talk. One-on-one. No lawyers. No parents. No noise." She replied in under a minute. "Fine. My terms." She chose a neutral spot. An upscale coffee lounge she liked. I arrived early. She came in 5 minutes late, wearing the same necklace I'd given her for our anniversary. Like it meant nothing. She sat across from me, folded her hands, waited. "I know about Brandon," I said. Nothing. No twitch. No gasp. Just a faint smirk. "I know when it started. I know what night you stayed over. I know where he works. I know the things you told him about me." She tilted her head slightly. "You're stalking me now?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm collecting. Because you're about to lose this war. You've taken enough. My name, my job, my relationships. But you don't get to rewrite reality." Her smile dropped for a flicker. "Just long enough. I don't care what fantasy you've spun for your little audience," I said, leaning forward. "But I want you to know this. I'm not playing defense anymore. You told people I cheated. You got my own mother to doubt me. You sent HR after me. You thought I'd roll over. You were wrong." She exhaled through her nose. Not angry, almost amused. "You still think this is about the affair?" I didn't respond. "It's not. This is about control. You lost it, and now you're trying to snatch it back." "No," I said. "This is about truth. You buried it. I'm digging it back up." I stood, tossed a folder on the table, dates, screenshots, notes. "I'm giving you a chance. Tell them the truth. You tell my family. You tell my friends. You clean it up or I will. And I'll do it publicly." and I'll make sure no one ever forgets who really set this fire. Her eyes finally blinked. Once. I walked out before she could speak again. In the parking lot, my hands were steady. My breath even. It wasn't over. Not even close. But the rules had changed. The fallout began sooner than I expected. 2 days after the coffee shop meeting, I got a call from my brother Ryan. We hadn't spoken in weeks. Not since Amanda's version of events had slithered its way into our family group chat and poisoned the well. "You free to talk?" he asked. His voice was tight, careful. "I'm always free for you," I said. "You just stopped calling." There was a pause. Then quietly he said, "She reached out. Amanda said she wanted to clear the air. Of course she did. She admitted to something," he continued. "Not everything. But she said she made mistakes and that things got twisted. She didn't go into detail, but I knew something was off when she told us you cheated. It never felt right. I didn't say anything. I let the silence work." "I owe you an apology," Ryan said finally. "We all do." That's when I knew. She was cracking. She hadn't expected me to push back. She thought I'd stay buried, humiliated, silenced by shame. But shame dies fast when you're the one being lied about. Curdles into something useful, something surgical. Amanda must have realized that people were talking, that her grip was slipping, that the narrative was starting to dissolve. She didn't admit it fully yet, but she was testing the waters, trying to soften the edges of her story before it shattered. And still, she didn't stop. 2 days later, I got a notice in the mail, an official one. She was filing for divorce. The letter was cold, clean, and brutal. No settlement, no mediation request. Just a declaration. She wanted the house, the dog, and she had the audacity to include a handwritten note tucked into the envelope. It read, "I hope you can be mature about this. Dragging each other through mud won't help anyone. I'm just trying to move on with peace." Peace? She wanted peace now? After dismantling my life brick by brick, she wanted peace. On her terms, no less. She expected me to lay down and give her half the house, the dog she never walked, and the dignity she hadn't left me any scraps of. I made a call. Not to a lawyer. Not yet. I called my dad. See, my father had kept quiet through all of this. Stoic as ever. He didn't send messages. He didn't pick sides. But I knew he'd been watching. "Do it," he said after I told him about the divorce letter. "Do what?" "Make her say it," he said. "Don't let this end with silence. You've already lost too much to let her walk away with a clean slate." That's when the idea sharpened in my head. If she wanted peace, she'd have to earn it. I asked her to meet again. One last time. She agreed reluctantly. Same coffee place. She showed up in different clothes this time. Less polished, more cautious. No makeup. No necklace. Just a worn expression and arms crossed over her chest like armor. "I'm not doing this again," she said as soon as she sat down. "You are," I said, and slid my phone across the table. "That mic is on, and I want you to say it. The full story. No spin. No edits." She stared at me. "What is this?" she asked. "This is the truth you owe me. My family. Everyone." She laughed once, bitter and breathless. "You're out of your mind." "No," I said. "I'm done being gaslit. I'm done letting you be the hero of a story you butchered. You want peace? It starts here. With that mic. With the truth." She looked around the cafe, then back at me. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "Say it," I whispered. "I don't owe you that," she snapped. "You want a confession because your ego can't handle the fact that I moved on?" I didn't break eye contact. "You didn't move on," I said. "You trespassed." She stood, knocked over her chair. Everyone turned to look. But she didn't walk out. She sat back down. And for the first time since this whole thing began, Amanda's face cracked. "I messed up," she said. Quiet. Raw. "Louder," I said. She took a breath that sounded like it hurt. "I cheated," she said. "It wasn't just once. And I blamed you for it. Because it was easier." The air left my lungs in one smooth exhale. She looked down. "I told your family it was you. I couldn't stand being the villain. So I made you into one." There it was. The lie laid bare. In her own voice. Her own words. I stopped the recording. I didn't speak after she said it. I just sat there, watching the words hang in the air between us like the smoke from a slow-burning fuse. She looked smaller now, not physically but spiritually, like someone who had finally seen herself without the safety of mirrors. I wanted to feel something, triumph, vindication, maybe even relief. But I didn't. I felt hollow, like I'd trained for this battle for so long. I'd forgotten what peace was supposed to feel like. She reached for the phone. I moved it away. "No," I said. "This one's mine." Her eyes narrowed. "What are you going to do with it?" "Depends on what you do next." She looked like she wanted to argue, like she wanted to claw back the confession she just gave. But she knew it was too late. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Then she just stared at me with something I couldn't name. It wasn't hate. It wasn't remorse. It was fear that I might finally be more dangerous with the truth than she ever was with lies. "I don't want this to get ugly," she said. "It already did," I replied. "You just weren't the one bleeding." She stood again, this time slowly. No chair crashing. Just that quiet, careful retreat of someone who knew the war wasn't hers to win anymore. That night I didn't sleep. I laid on the couch, lights off, replaying the moment over and over again in my head. Her voice, those exact words. It didn't feel real. And yet it was the most real thing she'd said to me in over a year. I stared at the ceiling and wondered if closure always felt like this. Like a room finally aired out after months of rot. The stench still lingering, but breathable now. The next morning, I sent the recording to 3 people. My brother Ryan, my mother, and my manager at work who was still overseeing the HR review she triggered. No captions. No explanations. Just the audio. The responses were like thunderclaps. Ryan called me within the hour, voice thick with guilt. "I had no idea. Jesus, Kyle. I'm so sorry. My mom didn't call. She came over, unannounced. First time in weeks. She hugged me so hard it felt like she was trying to squeeze apologies out through her ribs. She didn't say much. She didn't need to. Her eyes did the talking. Shame. Regret. A kind of maternal heartbreak I hadn't seen in years. But the biggest message came from my boss. Short. Direct. "Your leave is over. Come back Monday. I'll handle the rest." I stared at that message for a long time. Amanda had tried to bury me under her own wreckage, and for a while it worked. But now the wreckage had a spotlight, and her fingerprints were all over it. I got another text that afternoon. This one from Amanda. "You didn't have to do that." I didn't respond, because yes, I absolutely had to, and she knew it. Amanda didn't reach out again for several days. The silence was a different kind of weapon this time. Not her usual manipulation cloaked in charm, but a deeper quiet, the kind you feel in your bones. I half expected her to try and spin the confession somehow, tell people I coerced her, claim the recording was taken out of context. But she didn't. Not this time. The truth had landed. Hard. And it was still rippling outward. I got a call from Madison. Yes, the real Madison, the one Amanda used as a fake alibi that night she disappeared. We hadn't spoken directly in years. She sounded tense, like she'd been pacing for hours. "She used me, Kyle," she said. "Told everyone I was with her that night. She didn't even ask. Just threw my name around like it was a prop." "I know," I said. "She's out of control," Madison added. "She's been lying for so long. She doesn't know how to stop." And then the part one didn't see coming. "She's not doing well." I said nothing. "She's unraveling," Madison went on. "People are backing away. Friends. Family. Brandon, too, he ghosted her the second it all came out. Said he didn't want to be involved with this level of drama. He dumped her like she was radioactive. Something twisted in me. Not joy. Not pity. Something more like clarity. She'd built her entire illusion on perception, and the second it cracked, the whole structure caved in on her. She was losing the stage, the audience, the script. And now she was just another person exposed under harsh light. I should have felt sorry, but instead I felt still. That same day, Amanda showed up uninvited. Again. This time, no smug expression. No posturing. Just her. In a hoodie, no makeup, clutching a set of keys she never returned. She didn't even knock. Just stood on the porch like she didn't know where else to go. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Can we talk? No, I said. We've already said everything. I don't know what to do, she whispered. Everyone's gone. I leaned on the doorframe. That's what happens when the lies run out. I didn't mean for it to get this far. You mean you didn't think I'd fight back? She looked down. I didn't think you'd turn everyone against me. I didn't turn them, I said. You did. I just stopped holding the shield while you kept swinging. Silence stretched out between us. It felt like the closing scene of a movie, except there was no music, no resolution. Just reality. She looked up again. I know I don't deserve it, but if you could just tell them not to hate me. No, I said, calm and final. I carried your sins long enough. You want forgiveness? Earn it. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, but there was no fire left, no armor, just the hollow shell of the woman who once scorched everything we built and thought she could walk away clean. She nodded once, then dropped the keys on the welcome mat and turned without another word. I watched her go, not with satisfaction, not with hatred, with peace. For the first time in a long time, I felt weightless. The house felt bigger after she left. Not physically, every wall, every piece of furniture, every scuff on the floor was the same. But the space breathed differently, like it had been holding its breath with me, and now we were both exhaling. I walked room to room in silence that first night, not to reflect, not to wallow, just to feel the quiet for what it was, mine again. But even as things settled, the aftermath kept unfolding. People reached out, slowly, then all at once. Friends who'd believed her lies started trickling back with half-hearted apologies. Some were honest, some just didn't want to be on the wrong side of the fallout. I didn't respond to most. I wasn't looking to rebuild what had already proven fragile. Loyalty tested late is loyalty not worth counting on. The real surprise came when my mother asked to host a dinner. Just family. Said she wanted to clear the air. I almost said no. I didn't want a pity party. But something told me it was time to close this loop. So I said yes. When I arrived, the house smelled like the Sunday roast she used to make when I was a kid. My brother Ryan was already there, along with my cousin Lindsay, who hadn't spoken to me since she texted, "Heard you cheated." Unreal. Now she couldn't even look me in the eye. Dinner was quiet at first. Too quiet. Everyone pretending to be normal, like we hadn't just lived through a domestic earthquake. Then my mom stood up with her wine glass and said something I didn't expect. "We owe you something, Kyle. All of us." She looked around the table. Ryan nodded. Lindsay stared down at her plate. "We believed her," she said. "Without asking. Without thinking. We let her cry and scream and tell us a story. And we didn't stop to consider you might have been the one telling the truth all along." I didn't say anything. "There's no excuse," she continued. "Just guilt. And I wanted you to know, you're not alone. Not anymore." Ryan stood next. "You handled it like a man. I would have burned the whole world down." And then, as if the universe was waiting for the cue, the front door opened. Amanda walked in. She didn't knock. She just entered. Eyes wide, face pale, holding her phone out in front of her like a torch in a cave. "I'm sorry," she said, loud enough for the whole room. No one moved. "I lied," she said, voice trembling. "I ruined everything. Kyle didn't cheat. I did. I told you he did because I didn't want to be hated. And I let him carry that for years." The room was frozen. Even my mother's hand stopped midair, wine glass shaking slightly. "I broke the marriage," Amanda said. "And then I blamed him for the pieces." No one spoke for a full 30 seconds. Then my mom walked over to her, took the phone from Amanda's shaking hand, and said one word. "Leave." Amanda flinched. "I just wanted to. Not tonight. Maybe not ever," my mother said. "But this moment is no longer yours." Amanda hesitated, then turned and left without another word. And just like that, the air was clean again. It wasn't vindication. It wasn't victory. It was truth. Raw, undressed, final. And it was mine. After Amanda left that night, the house stayed still for a long while. No one spoke. No one moved. It was like time was catching up to all of us at once. For the first time, my family saw the whole picture. Not just the version told in whispers and crocodile tears, but the brutal, naked truth. I didn't stay much longer. I said thank you to my mother, hugged Ryan, nodded at Lindsay, who still hadn't found the words. Then I left without needing to explain myself. They knew. That was enough. The next morning, I walked my dog through the neighborhood. The sky was clear, quiet. Every step felt heavier than it should have, but not in a bad way. Just real. Like I was finally back in my body after years of floating through someone else's life. A neighbor waved to me, one of Amanda's favorite gossips, the kind of woman who always had something to say. This time she just smiled. Genuinely. No judgment. No side eyes. That meant more than it should have. I didn't play the recording for the world. I didn't upload it to Reddit or send it to every contact in her phone. Could've. I had every reason. But the thing about the truth is, once it's out, it doesn't need to be shouted. It just lives, breathing on its own. Amanda didn't reach out again. No more texts. No more uninvited visits. From what I heard, she lost a few close friends. Brandon moved on fast, apparently started dating someone else just weeks after everything collapsed. Amanda, from what Madison mentioned, was laying low. Good. Let her live with it. Let her carry the weight. As for me, I rebuilt. Work brought me back fully. They apologized in their way, not with words but with respect. I got more responsibilities, and quietly, the whispers around the office faded. I cut off the people who had doubted me too easily. No dramatic exits. Just silence. I realized some bridges aren't meant to be repaired. They're meant to stay burned so you never walk back to places that betrayed you. I started writing again. Not for others. Just for me. Journals full of bitterness, reflection, growth. I wasn't healed yet, not completely. But I was healing. One day, for years after Amanda first lied, I got another call from her. This time she was crying. Real tears, not the performative kind. "It's our son," she said. "He's sick. We need you. We never had kids together." But she had a son with someone else after me. A boy named Caleb. And the man who was supposed to raise him was long gone. I didn't speak for a moment. "I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate," she said. "I'm not your rescue plan," I said quietly. "I know. But I need help. He needs help. And you're the only one who might still." "I'll help the boy," I interrupted. "But only under one condition." She paused. I could hear her shaking. "Anything. You tell them all. My family. My friends. You say it to their faces. You confess. Not in a text. Not over the phone. In front of them." There was a long silence. Then a breath. "Okay." We met again. At my mother's house. Amanda stood there in the same living room she'd once walked into with lies in her throat. This time she spoke the truth. All of it. Word for word. No dodging. No blame shifting. She confessed everything to the very people who had once turned their backs on me. And for the first time in years, I saw something in their eyes that had nothing to do with pity or guilt. It was respect. Amanda left quietly after. No hugs. No tearful goodbyes. Just the weight of her own story finally placed where it belonged. I helped the boy. Not because she asked, but because I knew what it felt like to be abandoned, to be lied about, to be used as a prop in someone else's fantasy. He wasn't responsible for her sins. As for me, I'm good now. Not perfect. Not whole. But good. And if there's one thing I'd tell anyone who finds themselves where I was, it's this. Don't rush to defend yourself to people who are eager to doubt you. Let the truth find them. It always does. And when it does, you'll be standing tall while they're still crawling out of the wreckage. The truth took everything from me. And then it gave me back something better. Myself.